What's up, everybody? Midweek edition of College Sports Now. It's great to be back with our man Wayne Cook. Wayne, you've been here. You didn't go anywhere. I took a sabbatical. No. I was gone. Shout out to our man Phil Brame for filling in. He did a phenomenal job. I saw the doc. He had like 6 pages of notes. Copious information.
So much more prepared than you. Like,
he
so
really
much
was.
more.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But then again, if you know Phil the way I know Phil, I'm not at all surprised that he went above and beyond because that's just the kind of guy that he is. So, Phil, thank you for filling in. Yes, I went to see Fish for 2
They're
nights.
They're right behind you, by the way.
Yeah, they've been behind me. They've been there.
I would have never noticed because I have no idea. I didn't even really know what Fish is.
You're not aware of what's going on when it comes to this stuff, Wayne, and that's okay. You're a big music guy. I, too, like to dabble in the music.
Okay.
And, it was nice to get away. Listen, we'll talk football, by the way. Phil Steele's coming on in 25 minutes. We'll run through the Week 5 card. Wayne's in the middle of a coaching search. Things are actually looking up in L.A., they're also looking for a coach in Stillwater, Oklahoma. Mike Gundy got fired on Tuesday. Pretty busy news cycle. So we'll talk football. But just real quick, Wayne, just real quick. Very unlike me to, miss work because I wanted to do something for myself, okay? Right. So the opportunity was there. We got the band back together. And I'm talking about the band. I'm talking about, my buddies, my guys, my people.
Okay.
So it was nice to get away, played a little golf, saw some music. Did a little noodling around the suburbs of Atlanta. I mean, it was a good time. Listen, I'm 42 years old. I'm not going that hard. You know what I'm saying?
You should have just said it was a golf trip.
No, man.
Would have made you feel, it's just so much more.
There were more shows than there were rounds of golf. A golf trip to me, now I'm glad you brought this up because we're trying to plan a golf trip for the summer of 2026 in Michigan. A proper golf trip, in my opinion, Wayne, you can push back on this if you'd like. There needs to be more rounds of golf than there are days on the trip. For example, you got a 3-day golf trip. You're playing 3 rounds of golf. To me, that's a weekend getaway. A golf trip involves 36. Not necessarily every day, but there's got to be a day where you're re-racking. You know what I'm saying? Where you're hitting that replay. That's just my personal opinion. But anyway, Wayne.
100% agree. No. That's a great comment. I will say this, though. Most of the golf trips we have taken with my buddies out here have been down to Palm Desert. And it's in the summertime, and we used to be able to do 36 when it was 110 degrees outside. But as you maybe can see if you have a visual of me, I'm not as young as I used to be. Excuse me.
Fooled me, Wayne. I mean, you still look it, buddy. You don't look a day over 35.
Well, 27 and 110 degrees I can still pull off. I don't know about 36. But, yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah.
There will be golf talk at the end of the show today. If that's not your thing, sorry. The Ryder Cup starts Friday. Wayne and I have a tradition where we place a wager on the outcome of the Ryder Cup.
Patriot versus the loyalist. I mean, that's what we have here.
If that's how you want to sum it up.
You still wish the other side would have won the American Revolution. I know how you are.
Yeah, you're right. I wish we were all still talking French, Wayne. You're exactly right. The wager will be placed at the end of the show because Wayne is a Patriot, but he also just can't wrap his head around the notion that, Team Blue might be a little bit more likable than Team Red. We got
a guy named Scotty Scheffler. Don't even focus on anybody else. Just love Scotty Scheffler.
Points on his own, Wayne. The most he can give you is 5.
Just put the leadership and the vibe and the aura. He's a team guy. He's not. And again, I love Tiger and Phil. Good. But those guys were maybe a little bit less team guys. Scotty's a team guy if you're number one. And let's be honest, Rory, his mind has not been right since the Masters.
Yeah, I mean, that's a theory.
Come on. I mean, it's documented. He's already talking about taking it easy. Now, he did say he likes the Ryder Cup. And by the way, I'm not like you. I can like some of the players on the European team because I do. I really do. I mean, I know you do. Love to hang out with them.
I know you do.
And I could still root for the USA and send you a picture of a guy dancing around with fireworks in a red, white, and blue Speedo that you didn't even respond to.
Look, Wayne, I've been locked in today, okay? You don't just take 48 hours and disappear off the planet to go see fish and then expect to come back to work and everything's just hunky-dory. I've been digging out of a hole that I put myself in, okay? And that's life, folks. Right. Let that be a lesson to you. You go on a trip, You come back, you got to work a little bit harder when you get home. All right, here's what we got. Busy news day on Tuesday. Oklahoma State parts ways with Mike Gundy. He's a man. He's now 57, not 40. That was
17 years ago.
I know,
wow.
Right? Speaking of being old. Mike Gundy departs Stillwater, program's all-time winningest head coach. That is yet another P4 school that is looking for a head coach. There will be more, by the way. Wisconsin is in dire straits. Florida is 1-3. Roddy Jones was on our show earlier this week talking about Dabo leaving, not because he's going to be fired, but because he's fed up with all the stuff that's going on in the upstate. Right. One more interesting piece of news, at least for me, Heisman frontrunner John Mateer, quarterback of Oklahoma, hand surgery. He's out for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Red River's coming up in 3 weeks. That stinks, man. I wanted to see undefeated Oklahoma take on Texas. It sounds like John Mateer is not going to be a part of that game. So, Wayne, a lot to get to, buddy. But from the news cycle, what do you make of those little tidbits there?
Well, I can unpack. First of all, for you and Roddy, it's Tim Skipper, not Tom.
Did I
get
his name wrong? I'm sorry.
Pretty sure you did, but that's okay.
Hell, and
you can refer to him as Skip if you'd like to. Coach Skipper. Either way, I got
his name wrong,
tons of
and
texts.
Roddy said, I've
just
never heard of him. So
well, that's okay. He was at Fresno State. It's a West Coast thing. You guys are just piling on.
I'm sorry,
actually,
Skip. That's on me.
Great guy, and just so you guys know too, tons of ties. To his comes from a family of coaches, dad, brother, NFL ties. So he's been around for a while. Anyway, the only reason why I want to talk about coaches is if you're a school looking for a coach, and you want to get out in front of this, for the most part, you're going to have to wait unless you're going to go try to find someone that's already retired or at a desk, talking about football. That's like a Jimbo or a Saban or a Peterson
or a
Pat Fitzgerald. Pat Fitzgerald's a name that's come up quite a bit
that are out there,
especially since he's been exonerated of any wrongdoing. At least I believe that's what happened.
Wrongful termination suit.
Right.
He won. Northwestern had to pay that man.
And he did a lot of winning at a place like Northwestern, and that's not the easiest place to win. So there's a lot of
UCLA's opponent this weekend. I'm just saying.
Right. Just saying. Well, my point is, though, that I wanted to make is you just mentioned Gundy. At some point in time, and this may be happening with Dabo too, some of these personalities that we've watched win, and if you act like Gundy wasn't a good coach, to win Oklahoma State at the magnitude that he won at for as long as he did was pretty incredible. He was a really, really good coach. The antics kind of almost remind me of Dabo a little bit. He's pretty high-strung. Like maybe even defensive at times, and you're seeing that from Dabo a little bit right now. Like he's pretty tightly wrapped. These guys are really good coaches, but what we haven't seen, and it's interesting because the game has changed so much, Stephen. It's changed so much with NIL, with the constant transfers, and some of these coaches that have been around for 20 years, that have been around for the long haul, man, adjusting is hard.
Sure.
Like even like you look at a school like Iowa, right, with Kirk Ferentz, who's been around forever. I think it's going to get harder for him too. Especially when you go out and try to get a transfer quarterback, who, by the way, finally had a big game. Finally threw for, I think, 300-something yards, and Gronowski or whatever his name is, and looked okay, and kind of did a little non-Iowa type stuff by taunting the crowd and doing some weird stuff like that. I was like, it kind of bothered me a little bit because when you watch Iowa, you expect to see old school, discipline, not some cocky guy that had his first game of the season that was actually good. But anyway, there's going to be, the more teams are added, and this is my long-winded way of saying this, it's going to make it more difficult. You're going to get in bidding wars for certain coaches. You see what I'm getting at? Like with more teams that need to replace a coach and with more teams that have a certain amount of money to spend, it's going to make it harder to get maybe your first choice or your second choice. So all of these schools are going to have a list of people because they're going to have multiple schools to choose from what it looks like.
Yeah, the coach, the agents are loving this. The fact that you've got, Virginia Tech out there, UCLA, now Oklahoma State.
Right.
And again, there's going to be others. I don't know if you read, and we don't have to make this about UCLA, but did you read the Dan Wolken, Jeff Eisenberg Yahoo piece on UCLA?
I've heard all about it all day. Yeah,
I found it to be an interesting read. I didn't realize that the university president at UCLA was previously at Miami of Florida. And for me, that's an apples to apples comp, because it wasn't that long ago that Miami was in the, pardon my language, the shitter as a football program. And it was in a major I mean, it was in a recruiting hotbed, major city, and they could not get it right. And it was the coaches every couple of years. They were just burning through guys. Well, that's why they brought in Mark Richt, and he brought it back for a little bit. Right. And then obviously we know where it is now with Mario Cristobal. Either way, my point is, I think, Wayne, and I'm not – listen, I troll you a lot, and I give you a lot of grief. I'm not trolling you. I think this is an exciting time because there's nowhere to go but up. And if their article is accurate, they're talking about having $10 million on the table for a head coach. That's significant.
One of the things that I want to see changed, and I would say this we live in this era of secrecy, of people are paranoid. I will always believe, and it was funny, I talked to Tim Skipper about this on our first coaches show. You don't have to trick people to beat people. You have to out-execute them. You don't have to make things ultra complicated. And I agree with that. I think good teams can beat you, even if they know what play you're running, because you're going to out-execute them. Right. Your guys are going to win. And so I've always felt that way about football, and that's why I think it's so funny that everybody's so paranoid about like people finding out stuff and whatever. It's like stealing signs is different, because then it's like when the Astros were doing and all that stuff. It's different because that affects the actual what's happening before the play. But either way, Julio Frank is a guy that, like as you said, that came in and cares about football. I think our last chancellor, cared about the university and the academics and didn't always see eye to eye that, we were good enough at sports. And I think now we have a chancellor that cares that football is good. And I think that is exciting. So I'm going to agree with you. Moving past the coaches stuff, can I talk about John Mateer a little bit? Because I had a whole – I had already talked about how athletic I think he is. I could tell he was a baseball player. But I also, and tell me I did not do this, I talked about how he throws off his back foot a lot. He doesn't step into his throws. And if you watched that game this weekend, he was not even close to spectacular. That was not a Heisman-type game from him. He had some throws where he was completely off balance when he didn't have to be. Because what happens, and the reason why I bring this up so much, is that when you have bad form and you play really good defenses or people that are going to give you trouble, you're not the type of person that's going to slide and step into the pocket. You're going to keep trying to throw off platform and off balance, and a lot of times it leads to inaccurate throws. So I'm sad that he's hurt, but I'm also sad that we don't do enough to coach these quarterbacks to do it the right way, because if you take these guys that have unbelievable talent and you teach them to do things the right way, it's amazing how good they be. It's kind of funny, Steven. The Nebraska quarterback, Dylan Raiola, someone made a comment on social media that I thought was really funny. Like, he is the most relaxed quarterback in the country. Like, he just kind of floats around. But the more you watch it, Dylan Raiola has unbelievably gifted at his pocket presence. But holy cow, if you're not a Nebraska fan, watching him hold the ball in one hand. Do you know what I'm talking? He holds the ball in one hand as he's moving around the pocket. And I'm like, there's no chance that he is not going to fumble at an important time in a game this year. There's no chance, because that is horrible quarterbacking. You keep both hands on the pocket. Defenders are supposed to, and if I'm every defensive coordinator, I am swinging at the ball all day, every day. But when you see the talent, could you not teach him to keep two hands on the ball when he's moving in the pocket because you don't want to get that ball knocked away? I would like to think so. But are we coaching guys as hard as we should be because they have 5 stars next to their name? Or because, and listen, I watched that game too. Raiola threw a lot of really good balls. You could tell how talented he is. But him and Mateer both, man, there's so many fundamentals that are lacking. So here's my tirade today. Can we please stop saying, you okay, Steven? You locked in? Can we please stop calling quarterbacks now dual threat quarterbacks? Because they all are. Like literally, like why don't you announce when they're drop back quarterbacks? Can we do that? Because there's very few of those. So when you see a drop back quarterback, let us know. Everybody else is dual threat. Stop saying it. Can we start saying that guys are throwing the correct way instead of whatever arm slot they're throwing in? Okay? Actually, a guy that throws over the top, like Jared Goff last night for the Detroit, I almost said Pistons and Tigers, and I meant Lions.
Lions,
okay?
Tigers,
I
and
teach
Bears.
8th grade all day. Holy cow. But when you watch Julian Sand throw the way he throws, overhand, steps into his throws. When you watch some of these quarterbacks, and there's a lot more in college, I'm starting to see them now. Once we're realizing that certain guys were a little bit overhyped, you're starting to see some quarterbacks doing things the right way. And I'm saying, why don't we announce that instead of getting so excited because a guy could throw sidearm? And the last thing, start talking about guys that throw on platform, not off platform. Holy cow, is it the biggest thing in the world? Because the idea is that everybody's trying to do all this fancy stuff, and we're seeing a lot of cruddy quarterback play. I don't care what the percentages are because they throw a lot of dink and dunk stuff. I want to see quarterbacks, and it was funny. I was listening to Chris Peterson talk about it, and again, if this wasn't you, Chris Peterson, I apologize, but in my brain, I watch so much football, I was thinking it was. And he said something along the lines of, especially when you're talking about undersized quarterbacks, like 6 foot, 6'1", even 6'2". You need to slide in the pocket to find lanes. And I always used to laugh. I'm almost 6'4", and my left tackle, Jonathan Ogden, was 6'9", right? Currently in the Hall of Fame, one of the greatest tackles of all time. And I couldn't see over him, so you have to slide. And a lot of these guys are 6'6", 6'7", that are blocking for us, that you have to find lanes. But then he threw out the gold. He said, and they're moving forward. They're moving forward. So many quarterbacks are escaping. As soon as you escape, half the field is gone to you. Unless you're going to do the Patrick Mahomes thing and throw it back across the field. And people do that every once in a while. But the idea is that the good ones slide and move forward. And they keep their feet under them. This is not just an old guy acting like, well, that's not the way to do it now. Okay, you're going to give me the same argument that hitters now with the upswing and swinging for home runs all the time, launch angle has really helped batting averages. Go look at batting averages from 20 or 30 years ago and look at the crap that you see today. Guys bat .225 and they're making $20 million. It's stupid. They can't hit. So some of the old school stuff, it still matters. It does. Well, I know you don't have him anymore, but Freddie Freeman's got an old school swing, and he's a great hitter.
Nope, I'm not doing the Braves with you. I'm not doing former Braves
I'm
with
just
you.
saying.
I'm not doing it.
So, anyway, I don't want to hear dual threat. I don't want to hear arm slot. I don't want to hear off platform. I want to hear throwing the correct way.
Okay.
I want to hear when a guy's a drop back quarterback. By the way, I don't think drop back's better than dual threat. That's not what I'm saying. If you watch the evolution of Justin Herbert, he's a dual threat quarterback, man.
Yes,
he is throwing lights out right now.
Pretty sure he has
Josh
the same
Allen
number
is
of playoff
great.
wins that I do, by the way, Wayne. I'm pretty sure
you're
I
right.
have the same number of NFL
You're right.
playoff wins.
You're right.
But listen, let's talk about a guy who is doing it the right way. Let's talk about a guy who's not a dual threat quarterback. The new Heisman favorite. This is breaking news because of the John Mateer news. Fernando Mendoza. Quarterback.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm so glad you brought that up.
This dude went 21 of 23 against Illinois.
Yep.
5 tutties, no picks. He still has yet to throw an interception this season. He's not running around like this guy. I mean, Wayne, you're the quarterback whisperer here.
He can move. He can move enough.
He seems like he's doing it, quote, the right way, end quote. What do you think?
So slow down. Everybody, listen.
I love you, but I haven't talked to you in 2 weeks, man. There's been a lot going on in the last 2 weeks.
I don't mind mobility. I love it, actually, and trust me, I wish I didn't lose it with all my knee surgeries. It helps a lot. But I also wish that these quarterbacks would learn the right way to play first because, as I pointed out a million times, you're not going to lose your athleticism. It's always going to be there. But if you learn to use it the right way and are coached hard, what's happening with Kurt Signetti, and again, I'm telling you, and I struggle with this guy because he's so different. He's arrogant in a way.
Yes.
But man, does he back it up. And his team, I was at the pizza place, and I'm watching that game. There's a couple games on. I think the Florida-Miami game was on, and I'm watching.
Is that how you spent your bye week? You went to the bar?
Well, we have a friend.
They're
my friend's son's going off to Oregon, so we went and kind of sent him off. I know,
for
yeah.
a winner. He's
going to go watch Dante. Well, by the way, another quarterback we should talk about.
Number 2 on the Heisman list right now.
Dude,
today, Dante Moore. Number 2.
Okay, so Mendoza's been great, but why are we not talking about? And I hope I don't say his name wrong. Surratt Moore as one of the elite receivers in the country.
Sure.
This guy, he was great last year. He was great at your alma mater.
JMU, baby. That's right.
He's a great player. He's got great size.
Yep.
He uses his body well, catches the ball. Every time you look up, he's their guy, right? But what Kurt Cignetti has done with that program, it should be hope for everybody, by the way. Mm-hmm. And maybe in college football, some of these schools that are looking for coaches need a dictator. Maybe they need a tyrant that comes in. Maybe they need someone that says, I'm only coming in if I have I'm going to control the football program. And I'm not saying that's what he's doing, but it feels like that's what he's doing. He's going to absolutely micromanage every aspect of what goes into that football program, and it has been ultra successful. Illinois, now let's be honest, Illinois' big win was Duke. But they boat raced them. Wasn't even a game.
No.
Absolutely demolished, could have done anything they wanted. I was unbelievably impressed. And when I saw the ratings, I'm like, how do you not? I'm like, they're better. They're better than some of the teams in front of them. I mean, maybe
I'll tell you why, Wayne. It's the helmet.
I know.
Voters, people cannot. Now, when we get to the playoff thing in a month from now, maybe it's a different story. But, yeah, listen, people can't wrap their head around that's not the only team that's boat racing people. Vanderbilt has been smoking teams
and there's
in the
another,
SEC.
And there's an example of a quarterback who, and again, I swear I loved Joe Montana, but I also love Steve Young, right? You can love Troy Aikman and also love Roger Staubach. They played the game differently, right? Two of those guys were very, very mobile. They extended plays before it was popular. You can love Tom Brady and also think John Elway in his prime when he ran around were great. So to me, I look at, Vanderbilt's quarterback. Why am I forgetting his name right now?
Diego.
Pavia. Yeah. So he's a quarterback. He's just an athlete. He's just out there making things happen, man. He's so fun to watch.
Yep.
He's like when I watch Heinz King. Totally different kind. He's a totally different type of quarterback.
Throwback. Yeah.
But I love it because they're like, that's why when people are like, I never thought Tim Tebow was a great thrower, but is he one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of college football? Yes. Because he made the college part, because he made plays when he needed to. And so, like, that's why I hope people don't misunderstand what I'm saying. There's a right way. We know that I'm a huge fan of Jalen Hurts, but I'm also a huge fan of Baker Mayfield. Totally different types of quarterbacks. But if you're taught the right way and you have the fundamentals, it's the other guys that end up not making it. All the other guys are just going to free will it and do it their own way, and they're not taught to do it right. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. And I will mention the other quarterback. Oregon looks fantastic. We know their schedule is going to hit their first big test, right? They're going to play Penn State.
Whiteout.
The best quarterback in that game is going to be Dante Moore. I don't know if they're the best team yet, but Dante Moore, to me, wow. His arm's a little low, but still, man, the fundamentals of that guy are really good. He moves his feet. He can move. We've seen him be a little bit mobile. But, man, they are blocking for him. I don't know if you've watched any of their film or tape. I know you do the blitz every week, so he has tons of time. I mean, he has weapons around him, but, man, he spins it. He's getting it out on time. He looks like a quarterback that grew by sitting. He watched a quarterback who I thought had impeccable timing, which is one of the reasons why I give Dylan Gabriel a shot if he gets out of Cleveland. But if he has a shot to be a good NFL quarterback, because if you can get the ball out on time and throw it to the right people, it matters. So Dante Moore is scary right now because he is experienced. He has played, but then he sat and watched, and now he's playing again. And let's be honest, he's had an easy schedule to build up that confidence. And now, man, I have a feeling that guy goes to bed at night thinking, how did they stop me? And when you're a quarterback, I swear to you guys, it can be 1 week you can feel that way, and 2 weeks later, because think about the quarterback for Utah.
Oh, man.
He probably thought he was a Dampier. He probably thought that Texas Tech defense was stupid good, but they made him stay in the pocket. It was kind of like Lamar Jackson last night said, man, they spied me the whole game, so I couldn't do a whole lot. Well, duh, when you play an elite runner and you make them a passer, it's pretty incredible what you can do. And, man, Utah looked horrible.
Yes.
And Texas Tech looked like, watch out.
Statement.
Right? They looked
Yep.
elite. And on both sides of the ball. So I just love this because some of the teams, and we know Clemson is like, what's going on? I think all of us are shocked by what's going on there. But then you're seeing some of these other teams that you're going, hey, wait a second.
Yeah.
This is go ahead.
It's a fun time of the year for me because we're not once this sport gets to like October. I mean, it's already started, and it's the ESPN part of it, and I understand they own the CFP. That's their inventory. Of course, they're going to push that narrative. But for me, right now, we're just talking about teams and games and what's on deck or what they've done. We're not. Some people are trafficking in this CFP stuff, like, hey, are so and so's can Notre Dame still make the CFP? If they win the next 8 games, they can. Like, let's worry about what happens the next 8-9 weeks. Then we can talk about is so and so going to make the CFP. But yeah, there are teams like Clemson, winless in the ACC, Florida, winless in the SEC. There are some teams that are absolutely cooked, burnt to a crisp, totally cooked. And there are some teams that are making some real hay, turning a lot of heads, and that's an exciting time for me to be around the sport.
And I know we got more news about 9-game conference. Finally, I know everybody listens to CSN, and I've been saying this forever. I'm really excited about it though because we're going to get more good games. We really are. We're going to get more good games. We will eventually get to a point where we're going to have 2 or 3 lost teams get into the playoff. I mean, it's going to be a thing. Like it's going to be because it's going to be so hard to go through these schedules now. Teams are not going to be. There's still going to be dominant teams. Don't get me wrong, but with a school like Texas Tech coming into the equation, with other schools like SMU struggling right now, but they have money. All of those things are going to affect how many kids Georgia, Alabama, all those big-time schools can get because some of these other schools are going to get them too.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a lot of fun, and this is an absolutely loaded weekend of college football games, and there's no one better to talk about all those games than our next guest. Phil Steele joins the show, as he does every Wednesday. Next. Hello, Phil.
I keep forgetting it's Wednesday. How you guys doing?
It's Wednesday. It's the magic of radio, right? It's Wednesday. Thank you for hopping on with us as always, buddy.
The funny thing is, all day long on Tuesday, I usually think it is Wednesday.
Yeah,
I want it to be. Yeah, I'm ready.
So much has gone by during the week already. You're like, oh, it's got to be Wednesday already, and still Tuesday, which is good.
That's what happens for guys like us who, that we get up before the crack of dawn and we just grind, just watching games and just talking ball all day. You love it. All right, let's jump into this. You ready, Phil? Here we go.
You betcha.
We got Phil coming down in 3, 2, 1. As promised, it's the Wednesday show. We got to talk to our man Phil Steele, author of Phil Steele's College Football Preview Magazine. He is the best. Phil, it's the middle of the week. I feel like we got a couple more weeks before we get Wednesday night football, Tuesday night football. We're going to have Conference USA games coming soon, and Maction's going to be rearing its head in a couple weeks. So it's a good time of year to be a college football fan. How are you living as we get ready for week 5?
Well, I'll tell you, I will enjoy this week more than I have the start of the season for this reason. I've been trying to keep track of the first week, 95 games, and then 85 games. This week I have about 52 games to take, to keep track of. So definitely less of a deadline for me, and probably I get to really hone in on those 52 games more so than when they're playing 92 college football games like they did week 1.
Wow. It's like
Phil,
walk
just
in the
a
park
couple
for you.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for this weekend, by the way. A lot of great matchups. I mean, the top 25 alone has a ton of great matchups. And Phil, but I want to go back real quick. Just your comments on, I was blown away with what Texas Tech did at Utah, and then the Indiana performance. I mean, just those two right there, just like, wow. I mean, have those two teams kind of announced, hey, we're a part of this.
Yeah, I think, when you look at Texas Tech, their defense really shut down Utah's offense. I thought they did a great job containing Dampier. And then really in the fourth quarter, the score is 10-10 in the fourth quarter. I thought Will Hammond coming in with his mobility and a couple of the runs he made changed it a little bit. Maybe Utah was a little unprepared for a guy like Hammond running like he did in that game. And all of a sudden the offense exploded. But Texas Tech coming into the year, I knew they were an extremely talented team in the Big 12. My biggest question mark for them was, can they win on the road? Because they have to play Utah, Arizona State, Kansas State, Houston, all on the road this year. Well, they showed me they can win in Utah. You can pretty much win anywhere. Look out for Texas Tech. And with Indiana, Illinois, boy, if you would have had a bet on, is this going to be a one-score game, I would have said absolutely. I can't even imagine a team winning by more than 7. And Indiana just absolutely took away their will to live. I think you go back to that Duke-Illinois game, and Cignetti brought it up in the post-game comments. He said the way Duke's line controlled Illinois' offensive front in that first half, he thought his defense would be able to do it, and sure enough, they did. But, wow. And the one thing about Cignetti, if you watch him, he's a great home favorite for this reason. Fourth quarter, middle of the fourth quarter, doesn't matter what the score is, he doesn't take a second off. He wants another score. He wants another stop. He's unhappy if there's a bad play. He makes for a great home favorite.
Yeah, it's interesting, Phil, because the halftime interview, I don't know if you watch these games with sound. I don't blame you if you mute them because a lot of these announcers leave a lot to be desired. But they're asking him, hey, second half adjustments, what do you want to see out of your team? More points. His answer is more points. Like, that's a bettor's dream. Like, if you've got a coach who's literally telling you more points, more, like, that's, like, how can you not love that guy? Oh, by the way, he's 15-2 since taking the job. His 2 losses are the 2 teams that played for the national championship last year. Not a bad start for one Curt Cignetti.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, a great home favorite. I've watched him in games against FCS teams in the fourth quarter, and he gets mad if the other team gets a first down. So, yeah, he's always trying to score.
Yeah, love that. All right, Wayne, do you want to jump into these Week 5 games? Because there's a lot here. There's a lot.
Yeah, I want to start. Can I start Friday night?
Please.
Let's. I mean, this one to me is I cannot wait. I'm hopefully we'll be in the hotel. We're in Evan. What is it? Where does Northwestern play?
Chicago.
Somewhere outside of Chicago. TCU, Arizona State. What a good one.
Yeah, it should be. It's clearly, if you look at Arizona State, they have a loss this year, but it was a non-conference loss, so they're still very much in contention. As you know, there's probably like 7 teams that can win the Big 12 this year, and these are 2 of them. Now, TCU, super impressive against North Carolina, and then last week they actually trailed SMU in the fourth quarter, but got 2 big, long touchdown passes to Eric McAllister, and it turned into an 11-point win. And with Arizona State, Baylor sort of handed them the game a little bit with the turnovers in the second half. 3 turnovers set up 3 Arizona State field goals. But they went on the road, got the win in a tough environment, and still very much alive. And defending champs die hard. I look at the fact that Arizona State's almost unbeatable at home, and they get this one at home. So I'd rate the game a pure toss-up. I got to go with the home field edge and give Arizona State a slight lean there.
Okay. Another good one on Friday night, Phil. Florida State at Virginia. Scott Stadium at night. As a longtime ACC guy, that place, there's a little voodoo up there for ranked teams. Are we putting Florida State on upset alert in Charlottesville Friday night?
Yeah, I remember a Thursday night game where they knocked off Florida State. So it's they definitely can do that. And man, you look at Virginia's offensive numbers this year, they're sort of mind-boggling. They're averaging 565 yards per game. They're rushing for 6 yards a carry. The offensive line has allowed 1 sack in 4 games, and they're hitting 68% of their passes with a 9-2 ratio. They are potent, is by far. And it goes to show you, you look at the first year under Elliott, their offensive line had 0 returning experience. I think they had 1 career start. In the second year, they had 8 career starts. In the third year, they were a little more experienced. He finally has an offensive line, and now naturally Chandler Morris has emerged as a quarterback. So shows you the strength of an offensive line. But I'll tell you, this Florida State team, that Alabama win just continues to impress me because Alabama may be one of the best teams in the country, and they just controlled the line of scrimmage against them. Yep. And then, of course, blew out East Texas A&M, Kent State, expected. I think this Florida State team, one of the tops in the ACC, capable of going on the road and getting the win. So despite the fact Virginia's offense has been super potent, they have not taken on a defense like Florida State. I like the Seminoles to continue roll here, and I'm really looking forward to that Florida State-Miami of Florida matchup next week.
Oh, yeah. I agree with you 100%, though. I think Florida State's the real deal. I stayed up late, which for you guys was really late, and watched USC Michigan State last week, and I was very impressed with the athleticism of USC. Maeva looked really good. He's looked really good all year. But I felt like they kind of let Michigan State hang around. I thought USC was a much better team. That's just my opinion from watching it. Now they're going to go in and play a wounded, an embarrassed Illinois team at Illinois. So I imagine they're going to be hungry to look a little bit better. Just curious what you see with this one.
Yeah, and how about that 75-yard touchdown pass at the end of the game by Michigan State?
I don't want to talk about that. Yeah, I don't want to hear about it, Phil.
Tough. That was rough to watch. And I agree with you 100%, Wayne. If you watch the game, USC was clearly a better team. They shot themselves in the foot a little bit with turnovers and also with penalties in the third quarter. They punted once, and that was at the very end of the game. Other than that, Michigan State didn't really stop them. But here's a key stat for you and something you might not know. Whenever USC has traveled to the Eastern or Central time zone, they are 1-13 straight up and against the spread. Last year, you look at their road games when they traveled. They went. They lost at Minnesota. They lost at Maryland. They lost at Michigan. All games they could easily have won, but they lost those games. And as bad as Illinois looked last week, I know they are a more talented team than that. I am concerned at this. USC is number 2 in the nation in TFLs on that defensive front. This is not your typical Garrett or Lincoln Riley team. It's they've got an outstanding defense led by Danton Lynn, their defense coordinator. They get after the quarterback. If they can disrupt that Illinois offensive line like they were by Duke and they were by Indiana, that could be trouble. But with the fact USC does struggle in these trips, and the fact that I would have had Illinois a 3-point favorite in this game last week prior to that annihilation, and they're getting basically a touchdown now at home because of it, I got to side with Illinois to look better this week and at least keep it respectable.
Does Georgia Tech Wake Forest do anything for you, Phil? That's a noon game. I will be in attendance. I don't know if that moves the line for you one way or another. But you got the Jackets laying 13.5, 14 points at Wake in what should be a pretty sleepy stadium in Winston-Salem Saturday early.
Yeah, I am nonplussed with Wake Forest this year. I think if you stop DeMond Claiborne, you stop Wake. Go back to that NC State game. Wake got a couple of big plays early, and they were up on NC State. Then they basically went through 30 minutes of game action and without a first down. So basically 2 full quarters without a first down in the game. Stop DeMond Claiborne, and you win. I know Coach Key will have that information. He knows that already, and I think their defense playing well will be able to do that. And then they've got the Haynes-King, Jamal Haynes combo in the backfield. They're taking out a rebuilt Wake Forest team. Wake Forest keeps talking about changing the culture. Well, heck, I thought Dave Clawson did a great job at Wake Forest. So I think Georgia Tech is going to be able to go in there. I think their letdown spot was last week. And, did Temple get a touchdown in the final seconds of that
3
game?
3 seconds to go, Phil. Yeah. 3 seconds to go, baby.
Unbelievable, the amount of these backdoor covers, huh, Stephen? But I don't think there's going to be a backdoor cover here. I like Georgia Tech to roll this one up. Surprise the numbers under 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Wow. All right, so Notre Dame, absolutely can't afford any more losses. They've had a tough schedule. They've got to travel to Arkansas. I still am high on Notre Dame. I'm still high on the Irish, but, man, this has been a rough beginning to the season. They're playing a lot of tough games.
Yeah, I'm high on both teams here. You look at Arkansas, they could be 4-0. I mean, they're
Yes.
driving against Ole Miss, down 6.
It's true.
They get down the 20-yard line. They're about to score the game-winning touchdown. Ole Miss hasn't stopped them all game. They got 526 yards, and they fumble inside the 20. And then last week they're playing Memphis. They had an 18-point lead at one spot, and they're just driving for the game-winning field goal. And they're at the 9-yard line. Let's run the ball. Maybe we get a touchdown. Fumble. So 2 fumbles lost inside the 20-yard line at the end of the game, or they'd be 4-0. Very potent offense. Taylon Green, Bobby Petrino, they really got it going. And I like the emergence of Mike Washington, our running back. And with Notre Dame, changed 2 plays, and they're 3-0 right now with 2 wins over top 10 teams. So they're an outstanding team. And for all the talk about Notre Dame's defense, and they have given up a lot of yards and points right now, do keep in mind Texas A&M scored on 4th and 11 against them to get that final touchdown for the win there. And they're actually holding opponents to 79 yards per game below their season average this year. So they've taken on some pretty good offenses and held all of them below their season average. So I think it's going to be a great game. You never go against Sam Pittman as a big dog, but he's only getting 4 points here. A crucial game for both teams. I lean a little bit with the home team to keep it closer than expected.
All right, briefly, I want to talk about Vanderbilt football, Phil, because we don't get a chance to talk about the Doors very much. Historically, we talk to you about top 25 games, and Vanderbilt, for obvious reasons, has not been in the top 25 very much the last decade, okay? But this Doors team, these guys are a wagon, Phil. You talked about letdown spots, talking about Georgia Tech earlier. I thought Vandy, Georgia State, I know it was a revenge game, but they put up 70 points last week in between, some SEC games. They're going to beat Utah State on Saturday. I don't really need you to give me like a pick on the spread here, but how about 5-0, soon to be 5-0 Vanderbilt going to Tuscaloosa next week? That's going to be a lot of fun.
It will be a lot of fun. And, the thing is with Vanderbilt, their head coach, Clark Lee, very confident. Not only hey, we're going to make a bowl game. No, they have higher expectations than that. Think they could play with anybody, and they've proven it. Last week was a revenge game. This game, they're playing on a team they don't really know. Bronco Mendenhall's doing a fantastic job at Utah State. They're averaging 428 yards per game, 37 points per game. I think Utah State keeps this one closer than expected, but you are right. Vanderbilt and Alabama, that will be a great matchup because Vanderbilt's going to go in there expecting to win.
Yeah.
One of the most exciting games for me, Ohio State's going to travel to Washington, and we know what happened when they traveled and played at Autzen Stadium. I think they'll find out that Washington Stadium can be just as loud and just as crazy, and I imagine it'll be overflowing with people. This is probably going to be one of the greatest environments they've had in a long time. Still think Ohio State is probably better, but if you're a quarterback with limited experience, you're going to have to be able to play where you can't hear this week because it's going to be insane. I've been there when it's loud and it's incredible. So really fun game I'm looking forward to. I think Ohio State's a better team, but you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and Washington might be down one of their 6'4" corners. They got a pair of them. And if that's the case, that hurts because you're going against the receiving core of Ohio State. But I agree with you 100%. Husky Stadium is enclosed so much that it just keeps all the noise in there. And those fans are fanatical, much like Autzen Stadium. So, yeah, this is going to be an incredible environment. And let's keep in mind, it is Julian Saint's first road start. He's never played in front of a hostile environment like this. So I don't expect big numbers from Julian Saint here. I think it'll be a lower scoring game. And Washington's got some players. I mean, Damon Williams at quarterback, very talented. Jonah Coleman, one of the best running backs in the country. Denzel Boston, a wide receiver. Those the defense with those corners, and they can stop the run. I think we're going to have a hell of a ball game. I could see Ohio State. I don't see Ohio State winning by more than 7, 3 to 7, something in that area. And Washington could indeed pull the upset. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere.
Yeah. Washington, kind of an under-the-radar team, but what they've done the last couple of weeks, and obviously the chance to knock off number 1 Ohio State in Seattle Saturday, they may not be under the radar for very much longer. Another massive game at 3:30 Eastern in the SEC, LSU at Ole Miss. Phil, feels like Ole Miss has been getting better each week. I mean, they just demoralized Tulane. That thing was over early last week. And then you've got LSU, who, ever since knocking off Clemson, Phil, what's going on with this offense? It seems like they've struggled to score. They've struggled to run the football. Brian Kelly snapping at reporters. What do you make of LSU Ole Miss on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, they sort of struggled to run the football the last 2 years. Last year, they only averaged 116 yards per game on the ground. Some say that was because they didn't call enough run plays. But overall, just 10 first downs against Florida. I mean, Florida handed them 10 points via the interception, and that was the difference in the 20-10 game. The difference in Ole Miss is at the start of the year, they had a young quarterback in Austin Simmons. And Austin Simmons, while he had 4 touchdown passes, also had 4 interceptions. They've gone to Trinidad Chambliss. Now, Chambliss, he was at a lower college, but he has got that veteran player, and he's dynamic, runner, 195 yards rushing, throwing the ball, 68%. And the big thing, 0 interceptions. You got a veteran quarterback. Now they're starting to play better. As you mentioned, they dominated Tulane. The home team's absolutely dominated this series. I think the home team's won the last 8 in the series. And Mississippi's playing with legitimate revenge. If you watch last year's game, I thought Ole Miss was the better team. LSU sort of pulled out one there at the end in overtime, 29-26. I thought Ole Miss outplayed them in the game. So I think playing with revenge at home, I have to lean with Ole Miss, especially now that Chambliss has taken over at QB.
All right, Phil, we talked about how great Indiana looked, but I hope that Coach Cignetti's talking about rat poison or trying to convince these guys not to get ahead of themselves, because traveling to Iowa is never easy. So they're going to have to back up that performance and go do it again.
Yeah, and I think this will be a game. I lean with I know Iowa's getting over a touchdown at home. They have the defense. As you know, Phil Parker, one of the best defensive coordinators in the country on a yearly basis, and he's got the defense going again. They're holding opponents to 155 yards per game, below their season average. Now, Fernando Mendoza has had remarkable stats the last 2 weeks. I mean, this guy has hit 47 out of 53 passes. He's had 6 incompletions. I believe he's had 10 touchdown passes the last 2 weeks. Phenomenal. But it's different going against an Iowa defense on the road. As we know, Illinois had some flaws to him. Of course, Indiana State, Kennesaw State, Old Dominion, and all those games were at home. So now he's got to go on the road and get this one. I think Iowa gives Indiana a much better game than expected. And as you mentioned, Wayne, right on the money, Iowa can upset anybody at home. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a great game.
That's on Peacock, by the way. So make sure you get your streaming stick ready to go for Indiana at Iowa. You got to be kidding me, Big Ten. We got to do better. Let's go to the SEC. Auburn, Texas A&M. Not surprised that Wayne skipped over this game because it's 2 SEC teams on actual linear cable. A&M's coming off a bye, Phil. We know what they did at Notre Dame. Obviously, Auburn coming off a tough one. Auburn fans are in a dark place today. I mean, this whole week, they feel like they got robbed with the loss at Oklahoma. But what do you make of A&M laying less than a touchdown hosting Auburn?
Yeah, and much like Oklahoma, A&M's got a great home advantage. I think they really benefit from that late comeback win against Notre Dame. You got Marcel Reed this year. He's got a 9-1 ratio. I love the running back core with Moss and Reed and Owens with that offensive line. They've only allowed 2 sacks all year so far. And defensively, they can get after you. They're holding opponents to 92 yards per game below. I think it's going to be tough for Auburn to play 2 straight A games like that. And I worry a little bit about the sacks. I mean, A&M's got 9 sacks in the year. They can get after the quarterback. And as we saw last week, Auburn allowed 5 sacks to Ball State, 10 to Oklahoma. They're having a little trouble with protection of Jackson Arnold. So I think the situation really favors Texas A&M. I think A&M, they are my number 2 surprise team in the country. So I think they have a shot at getting to the playoffs. And you look at their schedule, it's set up that way. They could very well get there. And I like the Aggies minus the points in this one.
Steven, I'm gonna skip another one and go with my guy Brent Brennan, Arizona, off to a good start this year at Iowa State, and the numbers a lot lower than it probably would have been at the beginning of the season. What do you think about this one, Phil?
Yeah, and if you look at Arizona's defense, they're actually only allowing 222 yards per game. They're playing great defense to go along with the fact that Fafita probably spreading the ball around better than he has in the past because of the fact he lost his top receiver. And by doing that, I think it's opened up the offense a little bit. But let's look at Arizona's first 3 games. They took on a Hawaii team that doesn't travel to the mainland very well. Timmy Chang's only got 2 road wins. They took on a Weber State team that's a weak FCS team. And then they took on Kansas State, who is at the end of a 4-game just gauntlet, which included a trip to Ireland. They also played that game in extreme heat. Kansas State hasn't had heat at home all summer, and they sort of wilted down the stretch where Arizona got 2 field goals. So situation favorable for Arizona. Meanwhile, Iowa State had to play Kansas State and Ireland, survive the letdown game, survive a rivalry game against Iowa, and then they played their 4th game back from Ireland and barely beat Arkansas State. But they're now fresh off a bye. So bad situation. Now they're in a good situation. I think Iowa State is the much better team at home, laying less than a touchdown because Arizona comes in unbeaten. I like the Cyclones in this one.
Yeah, Phil, Wayne kind of, he's a sharp. He notices these things. That line does seem a little small, doesn't it, for the Clones?
Well, I think it's because of what Arizona has done. I mean, they beat Kansas State by more than Iowa State did.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, when you put it that way, I'm not surprised that Wayne keeps skipping over these SEC games. I'm just disappointed, Wayne. I'm disappointed. 4:15, all right, prime time, like middle of the day, Tennessee, Mississippi State. This game's in Starkville. Mississippi State's 4-0. Phil, they've already knocked off one playoff team from last year. Can they knock off another one?
Yeah, and, Tennessee has sort of dominated this series. They've gone 7-1 the last 8, and all their wins have been by double digits. I love the way Mississippi State's playing, and that was a great win over Arizona State. And I like the way you framed that because it's the first thing I thought of when this one popped up. But I do think when you look at Tennessee, my question marks for them, Stephen, coming into the year was, hey, how are they going to replace Nico? Well, guess what? I think Aguilar is actually better, 67%. He's hitting more deep balls. He's got a 12-3 ratio. How are they going to replace a running back who just set Tennessee's all-time record for rushing yards in the season? Well, they got Star Thomas, Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis. I actually think the receiving core, despite losing the top guys from last year, is better. Chris Brazzell is just outstanding, making some dramatic catches each and every week. And the defense is playing solid. So Tennessee's only laying about 8 in this one. I think it would have been a lot heavier prior to the season. And I do like the way they made the replacements on offense. And their only loss this year is to Georgia, who's perhaps the top team in the SEC, and that was in overtime in a game they could easily have won. I'm going to go with Tennessee to get this one by double digits.
I agree with that. I actually think Tennessee is a really good team, and I liked Aguilar before he left UCLA, so I can't say I don't like him now because I do. He's got a talented arm. He throws the ball well. He seems like he fits that offense really well, Phil. Another huge game, and to be honest with you, of 2 teams that are in national, championship contention, they really haven't played anybody yet. So, man, Oregon at Penn State, we're going to learn a lot. I think Oregon's really good. Dante Moore's been fantastic, but he's also had all day to throw and stuff like that. Drew Aller's been but I don't know if he's supposed to. I don't know what to expect, but I know these are 2 heavyweights that are really going to get tested this week.
Yeah, and personally, I think that Koldelnicki, the offense coordinator for Penn State, has sort of been holding stuff back. They've sort of been playing with one arm tied behind their back, not showing their whole offense. They knew they were going to beat Nevada, FIU, and Villanova. And how often does a team get maligned for winning your first 3 games by an average of 44-6? Well, Penn State just hasn't been as impressive as we thought they would be against those opponents. But I think with their defense, they're going to get pressure on Dante Moore. And Dante Moore, he started, I think the toughest game he started at UCLA, correct me if I'm wrong, Wayne, wasn't it at Oregon State?
We had at Oregon State and I think at Utah, and he had like 3 pick sixes in those 2 games.
Right. And now this is whiteout at night, Penn State. That is going to be just an incredible environment. And, watch Drew Aller have a much better game. Trevor Pena, Kyron Hudson have upgraded the receiving core. I think Allen and Singleton will have success running the football. And Oregon's been probably more impressive on paper so far this year. But I think Penn State's a better team at home, whiteout conditions. I like Penn State, and I think they've been holding something back on offense. Let's say this. They better have been holding something back on offense.
Yeah. Phil, can I follow up with that? Because every time I looked at the box score, it almost felt like they wanted to get both running backs kind of fair opportunities. It just felt like, we know they're going to miss Warren. He's already doing really good things in the NFL. That guy was a unique talent. I'm curious, if you could maybe dive a little bit deeper into the receiving core because if they do have to throw, if this becomes a game where Oregon's putting up some points and they have to keep up score-wise of the talent of Penn State when they don't have Tyler Warren to kind of rely on other than just the running backs.
Yeah, the two guys to keep an eye on. Trevor Pena was actually Syracuse's top wide receiver last year. They just didn't have enough money to retain him. He's a dangerous threat, and it hasn't lit it up so far this year. But once again, I don't think they were showing their full game plan. And then Kyron Hudson, comes over from USC, where he was one of the top wide receivers coming out of high school. And he's a guy that's got the size, got the speed, got everything you want at the quarterback position. And while they lost Warren at tight end, they've got three tight ends that Franklin really likes, and they're sort of turning into tight end U. Watch for like Luke Reynolds is their number 3 receiver right now. So plenty of talent. They also have Devontae Ross, who came over from Troy. So they've got 3 veteran receivers that came over via the transfer portal. They're all ready to go, and I think you'll see them unleashed in this game.
I don't know, Phil. I know what your TV setup is. You're not going to have a problem with this, but for those plebeians like Wayne and I, you're going to need to figure it out, okay? Because you got Oregon, Penn State on NBC at the same time. Alabama visits Georgia for a massive game. Phil, I'm curious if you have a pick here against the spread. I also have a stat on Georgia, which is that since 2016. They have not lost a regulation football game at home at Sanford Stadium, between the hedges. 2016, it was the Josh Dobbs Hail Mary when Tennessee beat them, okay? And you've got Georgia. They lost in overtime to South Carolina back in 2019. They don't lose home games. And now Alabama comes to Athens on a Saturday night. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this game, Phil.
Yeah, with this one, now Georgia, as you absolutely hit on, they haven't lost a home game in 5 years. Now Georgia, when you look at them this year, they already won one big road game at Tennessee, 44-41. I thought the offense looked good with Gunnar Stockton. When you look at Alabama this year, I think Alabama is one of the top teams in the country. And I know they lost to Florida State, but they have the offense. And keep in mind, Georgia allowed Tennessee 371 yards passing. I think Ty Simpson with the receiving core of Ryan Williams, Bernard, Horton, they are very dangerous at the receiving core. So, how do you pick against Georgia at home? They never lose there. How do you pick against Alabama? It looks like the better team so far this year. I would actually lean with Alabama. I'll take the full 3 because I think if Georgia wins, it would be by 3 at the most. But I think Alabama can pull the upset here.
Gosh, wow. Yeah, because I loved Alabama going into the year. I really like Ty Simpson, but I'm with you on that. It's so hard to go against Georgia because they just seem like even in games that it feels like they could lose, they find ways to win, which is pretty incredible. But I can't wait. I can't wait to watch that one. I'll be done, so I'll be sitting somewhere, hopefully having something cold to drink and watching that game for sure. This next one, we haven't talked about this team much, but they're sitting there in the top 25. BYU traveling to Colorado.
Yeah, I've been impressed with BYU this year. All 3 games, 3-0 straight up, 3-0 ATS this year. Bachmeier at quarterback has looked good, not great, and he doesn't have to be great. Let's remember, Jake Retzlaff wasn't great last year, put up average stats. The main thing he's done, he's protected the football. He's got 0 interceptions. Love the way LJ Martin's running the football. He's got 8.6 yards per carry. Colorado's tough at home. They're playing with legitimate revenge. Remember, BYU just absolutely stomped them in the bowl game. Satake and company were really miffed by the fact that the only everybody talked about was Colorado and is Sanders going to play and all the stars and Hunter. And they didn't even know that BYU was playing in that game until the game started. And then BYU just kicked their butt the entire game. So even though they're playing with revenge, I think BYU's the better team, capable of going on the road and getting the win. I look for BYU to move to 4-0, and they're a legitimate Big 12 title contender this year.
Yeah.
Our man Roddy Jones is going to be on the call for that game, Wayne. So you'll be 35,000 feet above the country. You'll be flying home, won't you? Saturday night for that game?
No. I fly on my own. I don't fly with the team. So I'll be probably in a local establishment that has a lot of TVs.
Well, I'm sure you'll be drinking just straight club soda and ice.
Just Diet Coke.
Absolutely living your best
Diet
life.
Coke, watching football. Exactly right.
Phil, before I let you go, anything off the board for Week 5 that has your attention? Anything we have not talked about outside the top 25?
I had Miami of Ohio last week, Steve, when you weren't
I
here.
know
And
you
I'm a little
did.
miffed
I
at that
didn't want to
game.
bring it up. I know.
Little miffed. I
You
mean,
didn't do anything wrong. That was the right handicap, Phil. That was just that was sorcery. I don't know how else you explain that. I really don't.
we're up by 14 in the fourth quarter. We're driving for the game-winning field goal and fumble. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I'm just going to take a week off if you don't mind, Stephen, on that because it was just a little tough to handle that one.
No, that's a lesson for Wayne and all you other degenerates out there. It's okay to just step back. You don't have to play every week. It's okay. Phil, you're the best, buddy. Love it. Thank you for making the time for us as always.
Hey, a lot of fun as always. You guys have a great weekend.
Oh, we
Thanks,
absolutely shall. That is our man, Phil Steele. He is the best. And Wayne, I know you don't keep up with this stuff, man, but Miami of Ohio was up 14 points with 6 minutes to go. That is why you don't bet on football. They lost by 3, okay?
I don't bet on anything. I feel like, have you ever seen the movie?
That's not true because we have the Ryder Cup coming up this weekend.
Well,
okay?
yeah, and I owe you some golf balls last year, and I paid, which is good. But have you ever seen not Christmas Vacation, Vegas Vacation?
Yes.
Where
movie.
It's way underrated for the vacation movies. But when he's playing poker,
I'd die for you.
Yeah. Well, when he's playing poker with the dude from The Princess Bride.
Yeah, he's a blackjack dealer.
Oh my gosh, I just that's how I feel every time I gamble. No matter what I do, I lose, and that's exactly how I feel. And so I just don't do it. It's not worth it to me. I get too upset. It'll give me more gray hair than I already have.
Your hair's not really gray. You've just kind of got like this. It's like a streak. It's just like this perfect white. Honestly, like you just skipped gray. I have gray hair all over. I have gray beard. I have gray.
It's coming in. I've been meaning to tell you that it's coming in. They do. When I was a younger man, I tried the Just for Men touch of gray, and then I finally just let go, and it was probably the best decision I ever made. But there is a transition.
Wifey likes it. She can't keep her hands off me. So at this point, why would I change it? You know what I mean? Like, why mess with a good thing? I'm just going to let it go.
Do you keep her, like, locked in a bedroom somewhere, or is she allowed to go outside?
She's out and about.
There's lots of options in the world. You mean?
No. I see where you're going with that, but no. Anyway, we appreciate you.
Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You found someone that
she loves me for me, Wayne. I don't need to change, okay? Unbelievable, man. You dirty dog. All right, so here's the deal. We will talk Ryder Cup at the end of the show. I want to just pose this because we just ran through all these games with Phil. I did some math.
God, it was good.
Week 5.
This is a good week.
It's a great week.
You told me the other day when I freaking crapped on the week, and I'm sorry, but I was right. This is what college football should be in these nine conference game seasons. And I swear I hope everybody listens to what the SEC's doing too and tries to make sure people play, like, I don't know if it's 2. Did they say 2 Power 4 also outside of conference? Or is it like 1 and then 1?
It's 9 league games.
You can only play like 1 FCS.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that should be a rule for everybody in the Power 4. You don't get to play more than 1 FCS.
It's going to change the way we perceive a lot of teams, and I don't think it's a bad. The old days. I say the old days. Like we're talking like, look, Florida State went 13-0 a couple of years ago and didn't get in to a 4-team playoff. So historically, it's just bizarre to think about because now we've all, and the ACC's next. They're going to join this 9-game conference schedule thing. Along with the Big Ten and the Big 12, who have already been doing it, but the point is, like, you're gonna be looking at like 9-3 teams and being like, you got to ignore the 3. Like, you've got to focus on like who have you beaten because nobody's going to be 12-0 anymore. The days of these teams sitting out there 13-0, 12-1 are just going to be really difficult to unless you have like a Joe Burrow type season. So here's what I was going to say though about Week 5, just real quick.
Go
12. Ranked teams. Now, it's the AP poll, right? We don't have the CFP rankings yet. 12 ranked teams are playing on the road. 12 ranked teams Saturday, and there's 2 on Friday. So 10 Saturday, 2 Friday. 12 ranked teams playing on the road. 4 of those 12 teams are underdogs, okay? According to Vegas. Like, they're underdogs, like TCU at Arizona State. TCU's ranked. They're an underdog. 6 of the remaining 8 teams in the top 25 who are favored are favored by 1 score or less. So, again, Vegas isn't always right. It's a metric. It's just a way to kind of measure this stuff. The point is, you need to that plus the Ryder Cup, which is happening on Saturday for us golf degenerates and junkies out there. Wives, if you're listening to this, like, you got to give your dudes a hall pass for Saturday. Like, there's a lot going on. This is not the day to be like, hey, let's go pumpkin patch shopping, or let's go to the like that. This ain't the day, man. Saturday, like, we got to focus, man. We got to hunker down. Okay, this is serious. This is where the rubber hits the road, people. Come on.
Yeah, just put something sexy on and sit right down next to your husband on the couch. I mean, that would make it.
Listen,
the
for
weekend.
Me, like, that's yoga pants. Like, you don't even have to work that hard. You don't have to put on anything.
That's true. That's a good
like,
point.
I mean, some of these sweatpants that they're walking around in are very nice. They're soft to the touch.
Point.
I mean, we don't. Anyway, you got me.
Calm down.
You got me.
Calm down. I got you all riled up. It's a great weekend. I mean, this is what we want.
That's the point. It's a phenomenal weekend of games.
I am hoping that on the airplane that I have, because I am flying home, sometime in the morning on Sunday, I want to be able to see something on I want one of those screens in the back of the
what airline
seat in front
are you
of
flying?
Me. I don't even know. I have to look.
How do
Delta,
you not
maybe.
know, Wayne? What kind of traveler doesn't know?
I don't worry about, because I set it up through the travel agent at UCLA, and then I look at it the day before and I show up. It's not that big of a deal.
You're flying in and out of Chicago. It's probably United.
It might be. It might be. I don't know.
Or American.
I don't know.
It's one of those two. United or American, I bet.
It's not a big deal. Can I circle back, though?
It will be if you don't have a screen. You're going to be
I think this is a great weekend. I am. But I want to circle back to the scheduling. I really already think we're getting to that point to where it's still going to be really difficult, because we talked about the Big 12. And we talked about how many teams, I don't care. He mentioned BYU having a chance, Texas Tech having a chance. Like, there's schools, there's a lot of Iowa State having a chance. Like, there's a lot of schools that have a chance in that conference to win. But if the conference is so much parity and is considered to be good, and you have a team that loses a game or two, see, in the Big Ten, you could be the 4th team and be Ohio State, and everybody's like, yeah, but that's Ohio State. But in the Big 12, it's going to be hard to get more than 2. So it makes it tricky. And then in other conferences that are bigger, like the Big 10 and like the SEC, there's no possible way, and we know the SEC put out their schedules for the next 4 years, I believe.
Yes.
There's just no way to make those equal, right? And still care about rivalries and still care about all those things. And we also don't know, which school's going to spend $8 billion to bring in, all the best people. And because maybe some school's tired of losing. Maybe, all of a sudden after a good year, Clark Lee's going to convince all the Vanderbilt money that we can become elite at football. And they're going to start spending like Texas Tech or like Oregon or like whatever. Like, we don't know where this is going. And when you make schedules in advance, that's why it's tricky to me to not have, and I'm going to go back to something that was talked in before the season started. The argument over, the top 12 or 16 teams get in versus automatic qualifiers, because it is tricky. It's going to be really, really tricky to differentiate the number 3 team, because I already hear everybody out there. The number 3 team in the Big 12 or the ACC can't be as good as a Big 10 or an SEC team that's the 4th or 5th, in their conference. Like, there's no way. You can't take that 3rd team in that conference over the 4th team in this conference. Well, if I've learned anything about college football, it's not that easy. It's really not. Like, it's and by the way, the strength of schedule, like the Big 10 felt top heavy. There was some teams in the middle to the bottom of that conference that were like, but some of those teams, like Washington and USC, may be a lot better this year, which is going to make teams' schedules a little bit more complicated, because now, and I hate saying this out loud, 3 of the 4 new teams to join are going to be really difficult to beat this year. UCLA is obviously going through a change, and hopefully they'll be back soon. But it's the same with Oklahoma being better this year. Oklahoma's better this year, so that added in Texas, we'll see. Texas is pretty funny. All the memes about Arch Manning walking around bumping into people after beating who did they play last week? Sam Houston or whatever.
So apparently
that's hilarious. By the way,
my Texas guy told me the reason Arch is posing on that guy in the end zone is because the same guy was like posing on him earlier in the game.
That's fine.
So
that's fine.
I missed that.
Whatever.
Because I wasn't locked into
it's just funny.
Texas
It is
Houston State. But
it's funny because Texas has so much more talent, and I think that people need to go back to what I was saying earlier in the show. If you're Arch, and it doesn't matter how, like Sark's been saying, well, maybe I just need to let Arch be Arch. Well, that's fine, but when you're playing really good teams in the SEC that have really good defenses and your fundamentals are flawed, it's hard. And I even, like I said, if you watched the game, Oklahoma did not look even as close to as explosive last weekend.
Well, it turns out that Mateer did something to his wrist or his hand.
No, I know that, but there was a throw where he was.
Allegedly.
Either way,
Allegedly.
listen. I already said this. I like Mateer a lot, and I love the defense. Oklahoma looks scary good on defense, but I still think that at some point in time where it's going to come to, you talked about Julian Sand going to Oregon. Like, I am so interested to see what he can do, because it has always been my belief that if you have a guy that can get the ball out the way you're supposed to and throw it accurately, no matter how aggressive, and it's funny, I forget who I was listening to over the weekend, but I've said this many times in my life. When I had my All-American receivers on the outside, I remember walking up to the line of scrimmage and thinking, you're going to blitz and you're going to leave that guy one-on-one so I could throw a fade or a quick deep ball or a slant, and they're going to, it was like if you had Marvin Harrison, who I know is struggling in the NFL right now, but if you have a guy like that, Junior, at Ohio State or any of these elite receivers, and you leave them one-on-one, you don't have to have time to throw when they blitz. You throw the hot route to them. Mm-hmm. And they're so good, they make you – so as a quarterback in an era where we actually threw hot routes and knew, what to do when there was an unblocked guy coming, it was almost like, please do it, because I know my guy's better than your guy out there. So when I look at a school like Texas or like Oregon or like whatever, the next step of maturation, like if we talked about Dante Moore really, really well, when he starts seeing pressure, and I saw him at UCLA, Phil even brought it up, he threw pick sixes in like 3 games that we were still in. Like that UCLA had a chance to win, 2 of them on the road against Oregon State and Utah. Has he learned from that? When he's dealing with a Penn State defense that's coming after him, is he going to make the wrong decision in a good game where it's going to cost him, or is he a year more mature, a year sitting and watching, a year, and I think he is. I really do. I'm really impressed with Dante Moore. But are you going to be able to make those plays against pressure? Everybody out there, pay attention to every single time one of these elite quarterbacks plays an elite defense. Are they still able to move the ball? Are they still able to? And it doesn't mean they're going to have those games where they throw for 380 and 4 or 5 touchdowns. It means they're going to have a game where they complete 65% of their passes, 60%, have a touchdown or 2, don't turn the ball over, no fumbles. Maybe they take some sacks and they have to punt, but they play a clean game. I mean, I think the really good quarterbacks, and you've watched, over the years, all your Atlanta Falcons games and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Sometimes the best games are the games where you just don't make the big mistake that costs you. Sometimes you have to do that as a quarterback. You can light it up against crappy teams, but what are you going to do? And we're seeing some heavyweights this weekend. So we're going to start figuring. We already said Lagway's not been nearly as good as we thought he was going to be. We called
that guy.
Sellers has been solid, I guess, but not spectacular. Klubnik has really struggled so far. Okay,
He's cooked.
Right? So what's happening? It's not always just them. Sometimes it's the people around them. I totally get that. Like, I've experienced that myself. So, sometimes it's just them. But, these are the kinds of things that you pay attention to when we anoint quarterbacks. I've been picking on Drew Aller for a couple of years. It's not because I don't like him. There's things that he does that I don't love, like with his feet. And it's different than the other quarterbacks. He's just a little slow with his feet sometimes. And I wish because he is a tall, drop-back type quarterback, I can't wait to see him against a good Oregon defense, because I think he has a chance to say, hey, guy on CSN, I'm improving and I'm getting better, and that's really all I want. I just want to see him get better. I like Drew Aller a lot. He's got a great deep ball. Like him and Dante Moore are two really good throwers of the ball. I think Dante Moore has way more arm talent. That's just my opinion.
So here's my thing, Wayne. I'm not discounting anything you're saying. You know way more about the quarterback position than I will ever absorb or learn. There are a lot of funny numbers that guys have been putting up through the first 4 weeks of the season because you're playing Southwest Divisional FCS team, or in the case of like Fernando Mendoza, you're just on a heater and you're out there dealing against Illinois. Okay,
he was already good though. Like
sure,
he was
no
good
doubt.
at Cal. Like he was
No
already
doubt.
good. Yeah.
But what
By
does
the
he
way,
have?
the Cal quarterback laid an egg last week.
Yes, JKS.
Holy
He'll
cow.
be back. He'll be back. Here's my point though on Mendoza, and here's my point on a lot of these guys. We're at that point in the season where it's week 5, man. Like some of these guys, some of these teams are getting on an airplane for the first time all season. Okay,
Yep.
like. You got to, like Dante Moore, you got to go to Penn State, Whiteout, Happy Valley. You got to do it on the road. Your road splits at UCLA were pretty awful. You had some bad games where, like you said, he was throwing pick sixes. That was 2 years ago, but still, got to do it on the road.
And he played really well. He played really well against the teams that weren't as good.
Fernando Mendoza, he has to go to Kinnick. He's got to do it at Iowa. This is a little different than when you were at Cal last year and you're having to play at, like, Boston College or Wake Forest in front of like stadiums that are empty. Carson Beck has been tremendous this year. We got into this with Roddy.
It's been really good.
Is Miami the best team in the country? They've been playing like it. Here, you know what Miami
is he a
hasn't
drop
done?
back quarterback? By the way, is Beck
No.
a drop back quarterback?
I'd say
Yes, he is.
Sure, but he can run. Though.
I mean, he can move a little bit, but he doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to. He doesn't
Throws
need to
with good
those
form
wide
too.
receivers.
Anyway, just pointing it out there. Go ahead.
But you know what Miami hasn't done this year? Leave home. Like for me. Like we talked about this with Texas, Ohio State, and we overreacted because it's week 1. Of course we were going to do this. I was like, look, man, I don't care about style points. If you win at the Horseshoe, if you're LSU and you win at Clemson, I don't care what it looks like. You won on the road. You know how hard that is? So, like, Georgia, Tennessee a couple, what was that, 2 weeks ago? You're like, all right, was it the prettiest thing in the world? No, but you're down 21-7. You won in front of 105,000 screaming Tennessee fans. Like, there's not a lot of teams or like players that are going to respond to that, programs that are capable of responding to that. So now for me it's like building on something like that, because believe it or not, there are guys at some of these teams who, like, and this is crazy to talk about because it's 2025 and maybe this doesn't happen as much, Wayne, because guys are going to camps and visits and stuff. But, like, there's going to be dudes at teams over the next couple of weeks that get on a plane for the first time. For the first time in their life. A lot of these guys are, like, South Florida kids, Georgia kids. If you're a California kid, like, man, we're not flying. Like, we're not – like, now you're having to go across the country. Now you're having to get on a plane and actually travel places. That's different, dude. So – we'll see. Listen, we'll see. I'm not ready to crown some of these teams yet. That's all I'm saying.
You said something really smart there, and
I doubt
hurts
it,
me to say that.
Go ahead.
No, well, you talked about the Georgia game against Tennessee, and watching that game, I felt like Tennessee should have won.
100%. Sure.
And yet, you look at what Kirby Smart's done as a coach, and he has kind of like that Saban way of was it Alabama that had Auburn had them, and then they ran like the weirdest defense ever. I forget what game it was, but there's certain teams under certain coaches that it just feels like they pull it out of their rear end, but it's really not that. It's that they coach these guys in a way where no matter what it is and what's happening in the game, they're still in it. And I think that's going to be harder because of the transfer portal era and the NIL era, and it's all the stuff that coaches are dealing with now, and I've heard this from coaches straight up. Coaching guys hard. Like one of the things I talked about with Tim Skipper at UCLA is, as a former player, I asked a question from that standpoint, and I said, all I want to see is every single player that plays in the game is busting their rear end, is giving every single thing they got. And if they're dogging it and loafing and not playing, I don't want them to be in the game. And he 100% agreed. And then we even talked about the NIL era and the transfer era and all the things that kids go through. And he says it's really hard for coaches now. He gave a very honest answer. He said a lot of these kids don't want to be coached hard. And he wasn't talking about the UCLA players. He was just talking about players in general, and and they're looking for their next home. And he says it's a challenge for all coaches. And so if you're a coach that can find a way to still be able to tell these guys the truth, I like Matt Rule a lot. I think I love listening to him talk. He's sticking up for Raiola and is trying to squash everybody from making the Patrick Mahomes comparisons. But you got to coach that guy to put two hands on the ball in the pocket. You have to. You have to run him after practice. You have to tell him he can't do that because you're going to lose an important game because he's going to fumble. And so, these are the types of things that, in the modern era of all the crud we're dealing with, and we're about to transition to the Ryder Cup stuff, I hate that the American team gets money for it. I hate it. If you don't want to play, don't play. I'm sorry. If you don't want to play, here, take your $200,000 and stick it up your rear end. This is a team thing. This is like playing in the Olympics. If you want to do this, you want to do this. And so I don't like it. And I know the European squad's not getting paid for this. And I don't think they care. And so that's one thing that I think is been a virus in American sports now, is we keep acting like money is the end-all, be-all of our existence. And I don't care if it's sports. I don't care if it's football, what's happened to college. You know how many of the older generation of people are getting just sick and tired of players constantly moving and constantly seeking more money? I get it that the numbers are still good and people are still going to watch, but there's going to be people that are of 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. They're going to be like, screw this. I don't care anymore. I don't even know half the players on my team because they're always moving around. And so, I think it's golf, it's football, it's all of this stuff when it becomes money. Who's focused on greatness? Who's focused on being the best? That's why when I talk about Scotty Scheffler, trust me, I don't think he's giving back all the money he's making. But, man, that guy is driven to be great. And you don't get to be as good as he is and to dominate the sport the way he's dominating if he's worried about how much money he's making. He's worried about getting better every freaking day. And we need more athletes to do that. The money will come. So anyway, it's a problem, which is one of the reasons why I struggle with my Ryder Cup pick. I'm like, man, I wish they didn't do this. I don't want a bunch of guys flying on their own private jets to come to an event, and I want them bonding. I want them playing for their country. I want them playing for their teammates. And I hope with the leadership of Scotty Scheffler that they can do that. I know I just went straight from football and just kind of segued into golf, but we're running out of time. So
that's okay. You've made that transition. So let's talk Ryder Cup here for 5 minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. Wayne and I are golf junkies unapologetically. This is the event that happens every 2 years. It's a big deal. So on paper, Wayne, USA is favored to win the Ryder Cup. Europe is the underdog. I don't need any kind of odds here. We don't have to do anything weird. This is just a straight up wager. I'm Team Blue. I'm Team Europe, as I have been passionately for the last several of these. You'll be Team USA. Are you comfortable with the winner receiving a case that is 4 sleeves of 3 balls each?
So
okay?
a dozen golf balls.
A
yes.
dozen golf balls of the winner's choice. So for you, that would be some Max Flies or some really nice neon green noodles. For me, that's probably going to be some TaylorMades or some TP5s or some Pro Vs. But either way, it's up to you. Winner gets to pick their dozen. Correct?
I've started. My latest golf ball that I bought is a.
Don't tell me. Let me guess. Srixon.
No. That's not a bad ball, but I did a bunch of research, and on the machine, the hitting the
Let me get
robot.
one more guess. Can I get one more guess?
Yeah.
Kirkland.
No, I don't like Kirkland's at all. I really don't. I don't like. I just every time I find one and I play it, I'm like,
Wayne.
I still don't like it. The Bridgestone, and I know it's gonna sound crazy. The Bridgestone E12, and I bought a dozen. They were only like $30-something, so they were kind of cheap.
So I'm getting a little bit harder. If I lose. Love it.
Little bit harder. It has the bullseye stuff on it from the Tiger commercial where it helps you focus. Not that I really ever look at it, but it is a solid golf ball.
All right, I'm writing this down.
It's a solid. I've been playing I've been shooting on. I shot a 78 Sunday. But it should have been better. I mean, it was par 72. I just let a couple get away from me, but it was a solid round. But I like the golf ball quite a bit.
All right, so Bridgestone E12s, if that's what you choose, I'll send them. If you want to crank it up, if you want to get some Pro Vs, I'll send those.
I
too,
like the
whatever you want.
TP5s too. I like the TP5s too, and
But
I
you're
would make
gonna
you spend
ride
more money.
just so I'm clear. You're gonna ride with Team USA, who has four Ryder Cup rookies in the roster.
Yep.
And Scotty Scheffler can't be 4 places at once. He is the most Scotty can do is win 5 points. That's the most he can do.
Ben has been on a heater this year. He cooled off a little bit. Ben Griffin.
Who?
Shut up. He played. I hope I getting his name right. But he was good last week too when Scotty won. He finished in the top 10.
Ben Griffin, one of those rookies, by the way.
Has Sam Ryder played before?
Sam Burns. Sam
Ryder Cup.
This
Sam
is
Burns.
his second Ryder Cup for one Sammy Burns, yes.
So I'm not looking at the list right now, but
I got the list because I take this stuff seriously, Wayne. I don't just roll out of bed and just start talking, all right?
I kind of like – this is what I like. I like the idea that there's new players on this team. I like the idea that the bona fide – leader of this group, it unquestionably is Scotty Scheffler. And it's more than just the matches you play in. It's the way you show up. It's the way you walk into the building. It's the way you carry yourself. Like, even if you go down and lose a match on 18 by 1, even if you play with a teammate who just absolutely lays an egg and doesn't give you anything, how do you handle that? And so, to me,
that's my concern.
The best cameo.
This is a team event. That's my concern.
Hey, Scotty had the best cameo in Happy Gilmore 2.
That has nothing to do with the Ryder Cup.
He's just better than everybody else at everything he does. I just saw a workout video of him that is insane. I'm like, just leadership matters. So he's going to be the QB.
Yes,
he's going to bring out the best in everybody around him.
Okay, I understand, but, you do understand how this works. Like, the Ryder Cup, there's 28 points being played for, and Scotty, at most, can only, win you 5 of those. You have to lean on these other dudes. You're not listening to me. I am listening to you.
I'm talking about how he's going to impact everybody else.
See, this is why Europe is so much better at this, because the team, the brotherhood mentality
is tough.
Here, buddy.
Like, we've got good players.
Xander's
We've
tough,
got
but
really
he's
good
not bringing
players.
his best
We're favored
game.
for a reason. And by the way, the fans, if you heard Ian Poulter was on a show talking about just how stupid American fans are, and everybody hear this, how stupid. He goes, you hear more stupid stuff, which I've been in a lot of American stadiums, and I hear a lot of stupid stuff there, too.
He's not wrong about the
He's
stupid
not wrong.
stuff.
But
people
he's
say.
not. He's not. But do you think that's going to help? Do you think the heckling's going to get worse?
The heckling's going to be a thing, but here's the difference with Ian Poulter. He's not on this team.
I know, but he's still talking crap.
People hated Ian Poulter. People
Yeah.
don't hate Tommy Fleetwood. People don't hate John Rahm. They
finally
don't hate
won.
Tyrrell Hatton. They don't hate Rory McIlroy. They don't hate Ludwig
Hatton,
Åberg.
how many
What is there to
clubs
hate?
how many clubs is Hatton going to break, and how many swear words is he going to say?
They don't hate Victor Hovland. There are a lot of European
like Victor
players
Hovland.
who are PGA superstars. I'm just saying, man, I know it's going to be jabronis and Long Island's finest because it's right outside the city, but, dude, I don't think it's going to be like vitriol. I really don't. I could be wrong.
One of the other flaws with the United States of America.
I hope they heckle Cantlay when he's standing over the
hold
ball
on,
for 45
hold
seconds.
on.
Pull
we
the
are
trigger,
teaching.
bro.
I swear we are teaching and shoving it down the throat. All the negatives. That's all we do. Negative. Everything's anti. None of our athletes are good enough. If you have a great athlete, we put them on Twitter and we say, who's better, LeBron or Jordan? And instead of acting like they're both amazing, incredible athletes, we have to make it sound like one of them kind of sucks. We do this kind of crap all the time, and it's just nothing's ever good enough. The greatest players in the world, we try to find flaws. I actually blame all the writers and the media for this, but the idea is that nothing is good enough.
Okay.
I'm here to say that the United States of America is good enough, and the American golfers are elite, and they're going to step up and they're going to win.
Very good. I'll give you the last word here. That's fine. I need to clarify one thing on this Ryder Cup bet, because the Europeans, they only need 14 points to retain the cup. If it's a tie, if it's 14-14 on Sunday, Europe retains the cup. So I just want to make sure I understand this correctly, Wayne. I don't want there to be any funny stuff here. If Europe retains the cup, I win the bet. If this thing ties at 14, I'm taking the underdog. I'm taking all the risk here. So I just want to make sure that we have that right. Are you comfortable with that?
Listen, I am comfortable with it. Really, I'm not, because you're changing the rules right at the end.
I'm not changing
win
the rules.
or loss.
Whoever's hosting the trophy on Sunday, that's who wins, right?
I will allow it, because, as I pointed out many times, leadership matters. And I didn't even talk about my guy Keegan. Keegan got screwed last time. He should have been on the Ryder Cup team.
Okay.
And again, if you've watched him, he is, in my opinion, he's the kind of guy you could root for as a player. Guys like Jim Furyk are out there. Like, there's some people that have been around American golf for a long time, but I like Keegan Bradley a lot. I don't know how much experience he has, but I guarantee you he's going to give it everything he's got, and he's doing everything he can to maybe change what needs to be changed. And we're playing on American soil, so there you go. I mean, come on.
You know what nobody's talking about, Wayne? You know what I haven't heard is, like, Keegan Bradley should be on the team, blah, blah, blah. You know what else Keegan Bradley did was he agreed to captain a Ryder Cup team when he was going to be 39 years old.
Well, that's true, and I actually think he should have played.
Yeah,
I think he should have played.
It was a selfless move by him to be like, I'm not going to take.
Well, he was in a no-win situation.
Sam Burns' spot or something. Yeah. It would have been in a really tough spot. But my point is, it's like, well, let's prop this guy up. He's Captain America. He could have been like, hey man.
No, Captain America's hanging out on Live. We don't have Captain America.
That's a different Captain America.
Dropping balls in the rough. We don't have him.
Go Dogs. Patrick Reed. Go Dogs, baby. Anyway, that's the show. Wayne and I have a Ryder Cup bet. For those of you who are like, what is the Ryder Cup? We'll explain it next week. Okay, we'll let you know who wins.
Oh, no. Please watch. If you don't know what it is, if you want to be entertained, please watch.
Trust me, my mom listens to the show. She's not going to be watching the Ryder Cup on Sunday. She's going to be doing other things. But love you, Mom. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in. We are back on Friday when Felder joins the program for a Felder Friday. Thanks to Phil Steele. Wayne, enjoy Evanston, buddy, okay? Take a picture in front of you in front of the lake, all right? I'm excited for that.
I'll do it.
I'm excited to see that. Thank you all. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Go Euros.